conversation. Dibal.
Many thanks indeed, Purity Museo there. And of course, we can see our reporters on the ground as well, giving us the feel and flavor of what is happening. Everyone very sanguine and optimistic on the build-up of the general election tomorrow. Today is a big day, is the eve, and everyone is trying to put their ducks in a row and to make sure everything is checking into place, ready for tomorrow. So we shall be also giving you more, subsequent, of course, a projection and a beaming from the counties, just to see how all people are trickling in. Many are traveling from every quarter of this country to various places where they've registered their votes, and they're eagerly waiting to cast their ballot. We are taking a critical analysis, of course, of what is happening right now, even as we're looking at the exit of President Uhuru Kenyatta and what he has done so far. One of the primary issues that we are putting on the table, that it has been very evident that the president executed some of his dockets issues, like the executive orders, very well. But also people saying, you always take the rough with the smooth. In that particular executive orders that he's doled out, many of them, around 8 of them, some were challenged in court as unconstitutional. And the question that is hanging on many Kenyans' rafters of the mind is the fact that then how do we mitigate this with the incoming president, where you have powers and you overplaying your powers, especially with the executive orders. And just to remind you, I'm holding court this morning with Dr. Joseph Magut, who is a political commentator. Also, we have Dr. Duncan Ojwang, who is a human rights lawyer and the Dean of Law at the African Nazarene University. Gladys Bostrele was here, but she had to catch a flight to go back to Wasangishu, where she'll be casting a vote tomorrow. And also, we had Professor Adam Zulu, who had to go as well. He is a political scientist. But let's just continue with the conversation at pace. And I want to pick the brains now of Dr. Magut on this, looking at the executive order. But maybe before we even go there, you've been seeing the pictures, and now people are very optimistic, especially from Sugoi area as well. That will be we'll be soaking up, of course, our spotlight to see the Deputy President and, of course, also the First Lady to be, if they garner that particular seat, that is Mama Rachel as well. What is your assessment so far from the coverage that we've done so far from the counties?
I think, Deba, looking at your journalists and the reporting across the country, the one fundamental thing that comes out is the fact that everybody seems to be distilling the fact that we need a peaceful election, and there's a generally a palpable feeling that this election is going to be peaceful, and that would appear is a key call actually among Kenyans, which I think, if you ask me, is critical. I think this is put contextually, because we have had very controversial elections in the past, and perhaps this is the time that more than any other time as in our electoral cycle, we have a sense of there's that general tranquil across the country, so that even if one was to drop at the airport, unlike the previous past, you wouldn't really know that we have a general election in the country. That to me is a stride towards political maturity, and I think is a thing that we really need to entrench in our political culture.
And so far, people they've been touting this election nearing the process that we've had so far. The campaign trails has been virtually peaceful compared to other campaigns that we've seen before. People are not really gagging for that particular ethnic leaning that you have. They're not really going for my party. This is diametrically different. People are going for issues, and they've been putting it on the table that this has been not a electioneering process that is really bent on ethnicity, but on issue-based politics. As you said, are we really reaching there as a democracy? What are we learning so far?
I think we have to operate within the space of reality. We are still pretty much an inchoate, nascent and formative democracy. And, I think we are basically picking our footsteps. So that during this election, you are seeing a sense of, ideological and programmatic agenda as advanced by the various presidential candidates, which I think, to me, is the right thing. I think we need to build a new political culture in this country that is devoid of our, ethnic passions, as has been the case, or ethnic arithmetics, so that then we really, put in place a more or less defined mature democracy. And I think it's doable. If you use this year's example, you're seeing that folks seem to be shunning away their ethnic identities in embracing the question of their gender, as well as the programmatic promises from the various presidential candidates. And, I think that is the way we can foster, democracy in the country.
Indeed. When we're talking about political culture, have we set also a good launching pad for where we should be going forward? That we'll never go to our atavistic nature, that innate nature that we know. I have to vote for my person, I have to vote for my ethnicity. How then do we secure what we've built now moving forward, Duncan? That it should be a politics that is based on issues and not personalities.
Yeah, I think you are talking about the political hygiene, and that this election, give it up to the candidates. They have, by sheer chances, been forced to operate more or less towards the theme, and the theme being issues. Of course, as you indicate, the biggest fear is relapse back to what is primordial.
Yes.
I think that to me, I don't look at it so much as either or. Because if I live by my lakeside in Homa Bay, and you come and tell me the people of Homa Bay, I will deal with their fish, and I buy that. The way we were involved in writing, for example, the manifesto of Kenya Kwanza in Luoland. We were writing it as Luos who have an opportunity to say, this is what we think government can do for us. We have been carrying our fish raw from the lakes to Kikomba, no value addition. We feel we can enhance the value by doing 1 and 2. That has worked. So I imagine that we shouldn't narrow the so-called issue versus ethnicity too much. Because there are issues that might meet me because of my geographical location or because of my organization as a group. That people organize in terms of community, people organize in terms of professions, people organize in terms of region, but it is your issues that should permeate them, so that as I'm fishing in the lake, I am saying that this manifesto knows me as a Luo. This manifesto understands me as a person from the lake. Then if now you are conversing, then we talk as a community that this is what I can do for you as a region. In other words, I easily don't fall into the quick dichotomy of tribes, regions versus issues. I think there might be truth in it, but there is a little bit of oversimplifications. Because indeed, there is what we call negative ethnicity, but there is also a community or ethnicity as an organizing, including economic organizing ideology. If I'm in the region of the lake, and we happen to be the Luos who occupy the lake and our primary occupation is fishing, then we think as fishermen. So if we think as fishermen, then we shouldn't be told that you are ethnicizing. It is up to the candidate to see how in that manifesto, as you have coffee, as you have tea, as you have hides and skins in Turkana, and as you have the blue ocean, what do you have? And you have sugarcane, what do you have for the fisherman? And when you talk of the fishermen, you are talking of some community that do fishing. So it can be both done, because to me, the biggest danger could be to say that we don't see regions. We don't see ethnicity. I think, to me, let us see ethnicity, but let us not use them to say that because I'm this community and you are that community, I'm better than you. It's just that. I'm from this community, you are from this community. Maybe from your region, you guys are preoccupied on this, we are preoccupied on this. We need to take care of both these communities. In other words, the Constitution does not envision a melting pot. The Kenya Constitution says, proud of our diversity. So that diversity should not be something that we clinch and stigmatize. That diversity includes the diversity of communities, of tribes, defined in the Constitution, and that diversity, because remember at some point we tried the unitary government and the unitary state, where we were saying that there is nothing like it is one Kenya by independence. And when Kadu was persuaded to that idea, people realize there is nothing like unitary. It ends up being that these national resources become a cake for some people and others suffer. Then the devolution came to make sure that everybody, we have 48 governments, we have everybody can access government. So entirely, in summary, I think I'm probably going too far. But in summary, what I'm saying is this, that I will tamper a little bit, that it is not either or it is not so polarizing that I have moved from recognizing ethnicity to issue. I think that is too simplistic, that they can both marry and they should marry.
Thank you. All right, even as I can see we've got just a few minutes to wind up, and I wanted just to clarify on the issue of executive order that I had raised with you also, Dr. Mogut. Did the president use the executive order expeditiously, according to your own assessment?
I think according to the president has constitutional powers to basically deploy executive orders. We call it in political science executive fiat. Is a dictum of some sort, often deployed by a sitting president to skirt around or expedite certain emergencies, for instance, or to fine-tune, a given policy, or in situations such as that, if there is war, for instance, the presidents would deploy executive orders. And in the context, which is, of course, a given constitution, in our context, I think our president may have gone a little bit too far. If you look at the NMSC, for instance, Nairobi Metropolitan, for example, and the KMC, and some of these executive orders have had to be challenged before a court of law.
The CAS as well?
Yeah. And so if you ask me, I think the president, under Article 38, I suppose, has constitutional powers to deploy that. But suffice to say, presidents also tend to deploy executive orders when there's a gridlocked parliament. If there's a stalemated parliament that is dysfunctional, the president has that mandate to navigate around Parliament in order to seek to execute his policies within a given period. I think it's also key to note that this can equally be counselled or modified by his successor by a stroke of a pen. That happens in many other jurisdictions, such as the United States, where we literally did copy and paste, our constitution. I think also to mention the fact that Parliament, upon the excesses of the President in issuance of executive orders, can mitigate that by defunding or denying the funding towards that goes to enforce that executive order. And so Parliament can use its bailiwick, for instance, that is its mandate, to frustrate that executive order as a way of checks and balances. So as such, the President has no carte blanche, that free-wheeling environment within which to execute this 100% without checks. So we have the courts of law, we have Parliament that can check these executive orders.
Right. Briefly, also as we're winding up, briefly with you.
And as Ambassador have said, we saw Obama use a lot of those executive orders to bypass the deadlock between in Congress. There is a little bit of uncomfortable situation with it, because remember our constitution say that the power to make law belongs to the Parliament, and so when you use the executive order to maybe make law, you become almost a super legislature, almost like a veto, but it has its place in governance. Of course, you know that most of them, for example, the one that was purporting to arrange judiciary under certain ministry, arrange all the independent commissions under certain ministry, were found to go beyond the power of the Constitution. Because we have a principle of legality in this Constitution, that this Constitution is so prescriptive that whatever you do it because you have authority. Other constitutions are a little broader, that you do everything and you only cease from doing what you are not allowed to do. So everything is legal unless you have been told it is not legal. This Constitution is, you only do what you have been allowed to do. And presidents find it a little bit restrictive, a little bit non-creative, and with that then, there lies the power of check and balances. So of course few are found to be unconstitutional. They are very easy work for the next government to simply, by a stroke of a pen, to call them out. After all, if they were unconstitutional and they are continuing illegally, it is going to comply with the law then.
Thank you. Ambassador Joseph, Dr. Joseph, thank you for coming through today, and we expect more of you, of course, in the course of the week as well, even post course of this week as well. Just get a critical analysis from you as well. Dr. Duncan Ojong, I really appreciate you coming through this morning as well. Always a treat having you guys, and I really appreciate, even as we're winding up right now, just a prime reminder, right, this is the 2022 poll promises that both of them have given you. I can run you by them before I just clock out as well. It is 10 o'clock on the nose. This is 2022 poll promises, and this is from Raila Odinga, first of all. We have Raila Odinga, 6,000 monthly stipend for vulnerable households. This is what he's going to give you. We have 2, free education to university level. We have 3, eradicate corruption. 4, reduce cost of living in 100 days. 100 days. Whether that will be achieved in 100 days is yet to be seen as well. So is he over-promising? We have 5, scale up of universal healthcare. 6, finance women in business. Water for every home. We have 1 factory per county. Fertilizer, maize seeds subsidy. 10, continuity building on past regimes' gains. Let's cross over now to William Ruto and the DP. He promises 50 billion shillings hustler fund, 250 billion shillings loan for farmers over 5 years. 3, better funding for universities. We have 3, free healthcare for all, 50% cabinet positions for women, We have 6 improved salaries for security personnel. We have 250,000 affordable houses every year. I also lay 100,000 kilometer fiber network. We have 9 Marge Help higher education funds, and also 10 complete all roads under construction. And of course, that is from the Star Illustrated. Those are your promises, just to give you a reminder as well. Even as you're going to cast your ballot tomorrow, we shall be keeping our eyes peeled on that, keeping out our ears as well on every nook and cranny of this particular country, just to give you information so that you can make a better informed decision at the end of the day. My name is Dibala Nair. Thank you very much. I pave way now for my colleague Almanzo to come and take over from where we've left. Don't go away.
Thank you so much.